Chairman, and I congratulate the Honourable Member for Brighton and Kent Town on securing this important debate, and it is fantastic to see so many colleagues from across the House here today. This is a matter of great interest up and down the country to a number of our constituents, and so I do welcome and have listened to the input given. Our excellent schools and colleges do deliver high-quality provision for 16 to 19-year-olds, often alongside vital lifelong learning for adults, providing opportunities to retrain. And also our employers play their vital role in securing our country's future for preparing young people and adults to meet the challenges of the changing workplace. And I would like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the colleges and the schools within this sector that have been mentioned throughout the debate.
A coordinating role that should be played by local government in the question of directing and helping to bring together the local picture around skills.
I believe there is indeed, but there is also a role for many different bodies and organisations to bring that together, and actually our colleges and our schools should be at the very heart of our local communities. The government is committed to improving the country's education system and recognises the importance of equality of funding, and particularly that stressed around sixth forms. I am myself a product of a sixth form college indeed. And I do want to note that we have increased funding for 16 to 19 education by 400 million for 2020 to 21, an increase of 7% in overall funding, which is the biggest injection of new money in a single year since 2010. So whilst I have heard the challenges referenced today, it is important to note that this funding has increased faster for 16 to 19-year-olds than it has for 5 to 16-year-old schooling. And this will also allow us to raise the base rate of funding for all types of institutions from £4,000 at present to £4,188 for the next academic year. However, I do reiterate that I have heard the calls made today. So, as part of the extra funding, the government has committed to providing £120 million for more expensive and high-value subjects, along with £35 million to support students on Level 3 courses who do not achieve a Grade 4 GCSE Maths and or English. And the additional funding will ensure that we're able to continue building the skills that our country needs and to invest in the next generation of young people. Now, we are also introducing the T-levels. I did note the comment by the Honourable Member for Brighton Kent Town that we have done several debates on this, but it was raised by the Honourable Member for Leeds North West because these are on offer in a number, and will be on offer in a number of the colleges in question that we've spoken about today. And we'll be spending an additional £500 million a year on these new programmes once they are fully rolled out.
About T-levels. One issue is creating a pathway for students who haven't attained a Key Stage 4, the necessary grade, to move straight into the T-level. Obviously, the government's interested in opening up that pathway for those students who could massively benefit in social mobility terms from being able to move into those T-levels. Can't you say what work the government is doing to clarify a pathway for those students?
Yes, I thank the Honourable Member for her comment. Indeed, there is such a thing as a transition course, which is a one-year course exactly designed to target that thing, to enable students to be ready for a T-level. Now, a T-level won't be right for every type of student, but it will provide an excellent pathway for further education, higher education, for apprenticeships or straight into the job market. And we want as many people as possible to be able to take them if they are suitable. Now, moving back to the subject in hand, sixth form, to ensure that the institutions delivering T-levels have the up-to-date technical facilities and equipment required, we are also injecting capital funding. And earlier this month, we announced up to £95 million for providers offering T-levels from 2021. Now, capital funding in general came up many times today, and it is not just about T-levels, but it is about increasing capital funding in general. We need to make sure that local colleges are excellent places to learn, and therefore we will invest £1.8 billion over 5 years to upgrade the FE estate. Now, this was raised by the Honourable Member for Brighton Kent Town and also the Honourable Member for Croydon North, amongst others. Sixth form colleges and 16 to 19 academies do currently receive annual devolved formula capital allocations. They also either receive the school's condition allowance or are able to bid for the Conditions Improvement Fund for larger projects. However, I have heard the calls today for a specific capital expansion fund from the Honourable Members in Combe Valley, Macclesfield, to mention but two. And a full multi-year spending review is expected to be conducted in 2020, including capital budgets for 2020 to 21. Now, turning to the FE workforce, this is an important issue because we do need to secure the very best outcomes for our students, and I always believe that that is reliant on the teachers who teach you. So we need to give providers the ability to recruit, develop and retrain the very best staff. And that's why, since 2013 to 14, we've invested over 140 million in FE teachers and leaders. And in the 2 years to March 2020, we've invested up to 20 million to support providers as they prepare for the introduction of T-levels. Now, the Honourable Member for Brighton, Kemp Town and others, including the Honourable Member for Croydon North, did raise the issue of BAT. Now, I do recognise that this is an issue for concern. Now, as noted, sixth form colleges can convert 16 to 19 academies, which can resolve the issue, but this is something that we do keep under review and we will continue to monitor. Now, earlier this month, we announced a £24 billion package for 2020 to 21 to strengthen the FE workforce, including a professional development fund, and to offer teachers delivering T-levels and funding to attract the very best talented individuals, including industry professionals and FE teachers. The issue of mental health was raised by a number of members, and in particular the Honourable Member for Brighton and Kemp Town and Honourable Member for West Ham. And this is something that I must say I do agree we need to do more on, and is a vital issue facing our era. And we have already provided over 500 million to support disadvantaged students, but I can assure honourable members here today that I will raise the topic and relay the concerns and comments made with the newly appointed Minister for Apprenticeships and Skills. The Honourable Member for Borough Valley, who has unfortunately had to leave the chamber, did mention the specific issue of a closure of his college in his constituency. And again, I will relay that to the Minister for Apprenticeships and Skills and assure that he has a meeting. The issue also came up today of teacher pay, which is an issue when we are considering investment in our workforce and retention. Now, it isn't as simple as just making sure that the teacher pay grant is in fact applied to colleges, because they are independent, so it is not necessarily appropriate. But we are concerned about this topic, and it is something that I know the newly appointed Minister will be looking at. The Honourable Member for St Helens brought up the issue of STEM and the fact that we need to be investing heavily in this sector to fill our skills gap. And that is why in 2020 to 21 we have made an additional 120 million available for the more expensive and high-value STEM subjects. So in conclusion, Mr Chairman, the investment we are making in post-16 education will ensure that we can continue to develop a world-class education system to rival other countries. So we have the highly skilled and productive workforce that we need for the future. The range and costs of the different programmes, the age and characteristics of students and the types of institutions we fund are all very considerable. Therefore, it is right that the amount of funding different providers receive varies to reflect this.
It's extremely generous. Would you just clarify the issue around educational maintenance allowance?
I would indeed. So, whilst we have moved away from that particular programme, the most vulnerable young people in defined groups do have access up to £1,200 a year to support their participation costs, and I'm happy to meet the Honourable Member to discuss this in further detail. It is a strength of our funding system that we are able to provide the funding for students and institutions when and where they need it, to meet such a wide range of different circumstances and needs. The Government is doing much to level up funding for post-16 education, but I do know that there is concern that it doesn't go far enough. The Raise the Rate campaign, and especially for sixth form colleges, has done an excellent job in drawing to attention the financial pressures that some providers are experiencing. Sixth form colleges and wider post-16 education is incredibly important, and is something that we will reflect upon in our input into the spending review. I know that a number of honourable members mentioned today that the settlement was only for 1 year. However, I would like to point out that most areas of government only did achieve a 1-year settlement, and that this year's spending review does offer many more opportunities. So I'd like to finish by thanking again the Honourable Member for Brighton and Kemp Town and all members that participated in this extremely important debate today.